Sampling, it's all right. It's about the only way to figure out, and it's not just, and this might be controversial. I don't know if anybody follows like Professor Scott Galloway. There's a video recently, and it's like potentially also looking at that differently, not just following your passion, but follow your strengths. What are you good at? What patient populations do you have natural skills to serve? I would argue that it is easier to become passionate about what you are good at than to be passionate about something that you might not have a natural affinity for. So potentially by viewing that and looking at things that you're already having wins with, where are you successful? Where are things not requiring a lot of cognitive load for you to help other individuals have success? That could be a different way of kind of approaching your patient caseload. And again, because when you talk about time, you talk about a career, there is a certain amount of routine and monotony that gets created. And it's a lot easier to go into like this baseline operating system for things that you're naturally strong with, where even if you're not having your absolute best day, your 80 to 90% is still better than a lot of people. And you're still putting yourself in a position where you're able to serve people at a high level. And like with anything, with routine, I mean, you're naturally going to have days where mentally, emotionally, you're not perfect. You know, you got the ebbs and flows of life. And I think when you are able to find areas and positions of strength to kind of lean back on, it certainly makes things a little bit easier versus something that you're passionate about that you might be struggling with. You might be less likely to have traction in terms of your ability to kind of keep moving forward and keep making progress, even on those days where you're not quite feeling up to 100%. So if we talk about 3Cs, and the biggest one we talked about here is largely social capital. From a company standpoint, R2P, right? We are 75 to 85% direct access on a regular basis. So we generate a lot of people self-referring to the office. They're saying, hey, I would like to go to this place. They sometimes have a physician attached to them, but the physician didn't directly refer. And then other 15 to 25%, we do have physicians that at this stage of the game see our value and are directly referring to us. And I say that because in the beginning, it was so hard to be able to make that happen. But you've got your medical bucket, you've got fitness bucket, you've got youth sports, you've got schools, you've got like your tactical athlete population. If you can think about like police, fire, SWAT, we have a good amount of retired and current military. And then you've got your business bucket. So you could be interacting with people in each of those different areas, of which may interest you, benefit you, be easy for you to do. So much like a company focuses on interacting in each of those 6 different areas, you as an individual could say, hey, I like this particular area of clinical practice. Therefore, I am going to go interact with medical professionals in this particular area. I am good at, or I like interacting with this fitness population. Therefore, I'm going to spend more time over here. I'm probably going to have more direct benefit as a result of that. Youth sports, club sports, rec sports, doing things in that population base, potentially seeing things happen for you as a result of spending time over there. Schools, obviously, similar to the youth sports thing, but when I think of schools, I think a little bit more like high schools. And then you've got your business bucket, which could be everything from Rotary to networking. Sometimes that business bucket actually turns into a little bit more like community work where you're serving, right? So it's not necessarily business, so to speak. It's a little bit more like business slash nonprofit space. And then tactical athlete, you could be doing stuff, police, fire, you could be doing talks in those particular, but you could have looked at each of those 6 different umbrellas. And this is an exercise that I have even business owners that I'll talk to. And you could go, I'm going to set a timer on the clock and I'm going to write down as many businesses as I can in the community where I'm at. And you do that for a minute. And then you go fitness. I'm going to write down as many fitness entities as possible over the course of a minute, literally not put the pen down. And the same thing for each of those categories. And then you start to ask yourself, how many of these operations, organizations, entities know me? That would be a 2. If only you know them, that's a 1. And then you would go do your market research to ideally round out your list a little bit more and learn about the community where you're at, the towns where you're at, Google search. And that's a 0 because you didn't know about it before. So life is about creating two-way doors. So you want to talk about creating value for yourself. The more two-way doors you have, the more people know you, they know what you do, and they know how you solve problems. That's going to benefit you regardless if you have a business or if you're working in a business, that entrepreneur mindset. But creating more two-way doors gives you value, which inherently should give you leverage. You should have more leverage as a result of the value that you bring by having these social capital ties. So does anybody have any questions on that exercise as a whole? All right, two-way doors are what we need. If we know people, it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. Okay, that's how life works. We follow people on social media that don't know us. That's like a perfect example, right? Are they providing value to us? Potentially, I hope. But are we providing value to them? No. Would they reach out to us to solve any problems for them? No. Well, it doesn't really help us out, right? That's not really putting us in a situation where we are thought of, and it's TOMA, it's top of mind awareness, right? You want to be top of mind aware for people. Thoughts, questions? Social capital? That's how you create social capital. That's how you create like local celebrity, right? You create this local influence for yourself. Do you have to do all 6 long-term? No. Do you have to do all 6 short-term? No. We have people in our company who've done an exceptional job of just diving deep into certain buckets here, and their caseload has benefited as a result. Okay. They've gone over and said, I want to do X. I'm going to do workshops. I'm going to work out here. I'm going to authentically interact here. And their caseload has benefited. Because I'm in the Frederick office, I'll pick 2 people. Kelly's obviously done a tremendous job. I was even spending time with her this morning. Kelly's getting to the point where she can pretty much tell me probably how many hours she wants to work. Like, she's getting to a certain point in time where she has created enough value that I sit here and I go, Kelly, quite honestly, if she really wanted to, could probably go do her own thing. So I have to make it very, very hard for her to want to go do her own thing because she has attracted a following of people and she wants to do things a certain way. So it's up for me to support her and ideally continue to have conversations. She knows she has that leverage. I have to compensate her accordingly. I have to work with her on her schedule, and I have to continually think about Kelly in terms of what she wants. What does she want from her career? Where does she think things going, or see things going? How many hours does she want to work? How many people does she want to oversee? What does her career look like long term? But because she's created that value, she has so many two-way doors where people are thinking about her. She's creating a pretty long list of people that want to see her, that are willing to wait on a waiting list for her. I have to take note of that. If I don't take note of that, I'm like not the business owner that I would like to be. You take somebody that has not been in the community as long, right? She's been in this community for a long period of time. And you take somebody like Chris. Chris has dove in deep into the mixed martial arts realm, and he has dove deep into concussions. He has done workshops and he has authentically engaged in certain patient population types that are either experiencing concussions or in the MMA scene or a mix of both. His caseload is starting to take shape. Okay. He wanted to get into Con Ed stuff with his now fiance, Paula. So they have kind of created out a nice little concussion niche, but obviously I'm up in Frederick, but his schedule is starting to look different. It's starting to take shape. And the number one thing that he says as a young professional is he says, I really, really like showing up every day because I'm seeing a lot of the people in the population group that I already interact with and then I enjoy outside of the clinic. But again, what do you like? What are you good at? Does it even feel like work when you go deliver one of these presentations somewhere to a population group that you're already authentically engaging with? Now, we talk a lot about fitness here, and it's very, very easy to do workshops. If we wanted to dive deep into workshops, number one thing I would say for you, send out a sign up link ahead of time, get emails. It's always valuable to capture emails. Make sure that you've got some relative structure. I wouldn't do it too long, no more than 30 to 45 minutes. Make sure that you have Q&A at the end. Send follow-ups. I would make sure that the place that you're working with is okay at potentially attracting people with free consults after. That's why you would have the email. You would remind people at the end of your session, hey, free consults for everybody who came today. Follow up. Here's the information. In an email, it's much like social media. Hook, right? You want to hook somebody in, question, something that grabs their attention, some 2 to 3 sentence meat, and then a call to action at the end. Okay, so you got your hook, you got your meat and potatoes, and then you got your call to action at the end. The consult ideally is a way for you to talk them through what a session would look like, put them in a situation where they feel comfortable potentially activating with your organization. But that's a way to get people in the door, right? It's okay to get people into the door, to change their travel habits, for them to walk in, experience you in a professional setting, and potentially go, oh, this is why I would come here, or, oh, this is how close this is to other things that I'm already familiar with in the community. But the workshop side is probably one of the best from a fitness standpoint. Medical, it's really, really positive to put yourself in a position where if you are working somewhere, you are paying attention to some of the physicians that are attached to your patients. If you're having really, really good experience with a certain patient population, or you like, potentially working with a physician because he specializes or she specializes in a certain area, then you've got this track record, making sure that you're faxing out your notes. But ideally, one of the easiest things is getting a Google review, potentially popping over and saying, hey, I've seen X amount of the patients from Dr. So-and-so over the course of the last 3 months. I've really, really enjoyed working, synergistically here. I know we don't know each other, but potentially we could have a more formal relationship. Here's an example of my work. And you drop your review in there. People kind of get to see a 5-star experience. Maybe it's one of your better Google reviews that you've paid attention to online. And potentially now you start to have this relationship with the physician. I will always say in that situation, you go over and you say, hey, I've been trying to get some referrals over to so-and-so. I don't know if they've been making it. Is there a better way for me to potentially open up a line of communication? By saying that, you are trying to tell another individual that you're looking to create value for them. So if you're looking to create value for them, they're going to go, oh my gosh, yeah, we got to make sure that you're getting referrals over here. Every place wants more referrals. So you're either going to get a practice manager, you're going to get a front desk person, you might even get the physician itself. But again, it's very, very easy to go over and say, and I'll use Dr. Miller. Hey, look, I've seen 7 patients from Dr. Miller over the past 3 months. I really, really have enjoyed, kind of working with these particular patients. I'd love to talk to Dr. Miller a little bit more. And I've actually been looking to, or trying to send referrals over here. I don't know if they've been making it just because I don't have a formal line of communication. Is there a best way to make sure that I can get a patient referral over here and that they're getting seen in a timely fashion? Boom.